Good morning, everyone. I am your reporter, Kimberly Zane Dulay, and today I will be discussing the role of ideology. First of all, what is ideology? Ideology is a belief system, and all belief systems are products of cultural conditioning. For example, capitalism, communism, Marxism, patriotism, religion, ethical system, humanism, environmentalism, astrology, and karate are all ideologies. Even our assumptions that nature behaves according to the laws of science is an ideology. However, although almost any experience or field of study we can think of has an ideological component, not all ideologies are equally productive or desirable. Undesirable ideologies promote repressive political agendas and, in order to ensure their acceptance among the citizenry, pass themselves off as natural ways of seeing the world instead of acknowledging themselves as ideologies. It's natural for men to hold leadership positions because their biological superiority renders them more physically, intellectually, and emotionally capable than women. It's a sexist ideology that sells itself as a function of nature rather than as a product of cultural belief. Every family wants to own its own home on its own land. It is a capitalist ideology that sells itself as natural by pointing, for example, to the fact that almost all Americans want to own their own property, without acknowledging that this desire is created in us by the capitalist culture in which we live. Although Marxist theories differ in their estimation of the degree to which we are programmed by ideology, all agree that the most successful ideologies are not recognized as ideologies but are thought to be the natural ways of seeing the world by the people who subscribe them. Thus, although we could argue that the economic interests of middle-class America will be served by a political alliance with the poor in order to attain a more equitable distribution of America's enormous wealth among the middle and lower class in political matters, the middle class generally sides with the wealthy against the poor. To cite one simple example, the middle class tends to resent the poor because so much middle class tax money goes to government programs to help the poor. However, the middle class fails to realize two important socio-economic realities. One, that is the wealthy in position of power who decide who pays the most taxes and how the money will be spent. In other words, it is the wealthy who make the middle class support the poor. Number 2, that the poor receives but a small portion of the funds earmarked for them because so much of it goes through kickbacks and creative bookkeeping into the pockets of the wealthy who control our social services and the middle class employees who administer them. American Dream. What is the ideological that binds the middle class to the socio-economic inequities in contemporary America? In large part, the middle class is blinded by their belief in the American dream, which tells them that financial success is simply the product of initiative and hard work. Therefore, if some people are poor, it is because they are shiftless and lazy. The keyword here is better, which refers not only to better than I had before, but also to better than other people have. That is embeds within the belief in getting ahead is the belief in competition as a natural or necessary mode of being. After all, haven't we learned from the science that nature demands the survival of the fittest? And doesn't this view of human behavior fit perfectly with the belief in rugged individualism, upon which America was founded, and without which it would not have become the great nation it is today? Marx's analysis reveals that the American dream is an ideology, a belief system, not an innate or natural way of seeing the world. And like all ideologies that support the socio-economic and inequities of capitalist countries like ours, that is, countries in which the means of production, natural, financial, and human resources are privately owned, and in which those who own them inevitably becomes the dominant class. The American dream blinds us to the enormities of its own failure in past and in present. The genocide of Native Americans, the enslavement of Africans, the virtual enslavement of indentured servants, the abuses suffered by the immigrant populations, the widening economic gulf between America's rich and poor, the growing ranks of the homeless and hungry, the enduring social economic barriers against women and people of color, and the like. In other words, the success of the American dream, the acquisition of a wealthy lifestyle for a few, rests on the misery of the many. And it is the power of ideology, of our belief in the naturalness and fairness of this dream, that has blinded us to the harsh realities in mass. From a Marxist perspective, the role of ideology in maintaining those in power is important that we should briefly examine a few more examples so that we can see how it works. Classism, for example, is an ideology that equates one's value as a human being with the social class to which one belongs. The higher one's social class, the better one is assumed to be, because quality is in the blood, that is informed. From a classist perspective, people at the top of the social scale are naturally superior to those belong to them. Those at the top are more intelligent, more responsible, more trustworthy, more ethical, and so on. People at the bottom of the social scale, it follows, are naturally shiftless, lazy, and irresponsible. Therefore, it is only right and natural that those from the highest social class should hold all the positions of power and leadership, because they are naturally suited to such roles and are the only ones who can be trusted to perform them properly. Patriotism is an ideology that keeps poor people fighting wars against poor people from other countries. One way or another, sufficient money can generally keep one out of the armed forces during wartime, or at least out of the combat units, while the rich on both sides rake in the profits of wartime economy. Because patriotism leads the poor to see themselves as members of a nation, separate from other nations, rather than as members of a worldwide oppressed class, opposed to all privileged classes, including those from their own country. It prevents the poor from banding together to improve their condition globally. Religion, which Karl Marx called the opiate of the masses, is an ideology that helps to keep the faithful poor satisfied with their lot in life, or at least tolerant of it, much as tranquilizer might do. The question of God's existence is not the fundamental issue for Marx's analysis. Rather, what human beings do in God's name, organized religion, is the focus. For example, while many Christian religious groups work to feed, clothe, house, and even educate the world's poor, the religious tenets that are disseminated along with the food and clothing include the conviction that the poor, if they remain non-violent, will find their reward in heaven. Obviously, the 10% or less of the world's population who own 90% or more of the world's wealth have a vested interest in promoting the aspect of Christian belief among the poor and historically have exploited Christianity for just this purpose. Indeed, the Bible has been used successfully to justify and promote the enslavement of Africans in America and the subordination of women and non-straight people. Rag individualism, which, as we have seen, is a cornerstone of the American dream, is an ideology that romanticizes the individual who strikes out alone in pursuit of a goal not easily achieved, a goal that often involves risk and one that most people will not readily undertake. In the past, such a goal would have been, for example, the rush for gold and silver on the American frontier, an attempt in which many individuals risked losing their lives. Although it may sound like an admirable character trait, Marxist thinkers consider rag individualism an oppressive ideology because it puts self-interest above the needs and even above the survival for other people. By keeping the focus on me instead of on us, rag individualism works against the well-being of society as a whole and of underprivileged people in particular. Rag individualism also gives us the illusion that we make our own decisions without being significantly influenced by ideology of any sort when, in fact, we are all influenced by various ideologies all the time, whether we realize it or not. Consumerism, or shop till you drop-ism, is another cornerstone of the American dream. Consumerism is an ideology that says, I am only as good as what I buy. Thus, it simultaneously fulfills two ideological purposes. It gives me the illusion that I can be as good as the wealthy if I can purchase what they purchase, or a reasonable facsimile, therefore, I'll be on credit. And it fills the coffers of the wealthy who manufacture and sell the consumer products I buy and who reap the 15 to 20% interest on my credit card bills. Of course, there are many more capitalist ideologies we could analyze. These few are intended just to illustrate, in general terms, the Marxist view of repressive ideologies. And that's all from my report today. Thank you.